Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indie Zone. My name is Kathy. In today's episode, I would like to direct your attention in Idaho versus Koberger to the state of Idaho's response in opposition to the media coalition's motion to intervene and motion to set aside the amended non-dissemination order. This is dated June 6th, 2023. It comes on the heels of the defense's response opposing setting aside the non-dissemination order. So once again, we see in this situation that there's the rare instance where the state of Idaho and the defense are both on the same side. They both want the same thing. They don't want this non-dissemination order to be rendered null and void, which is what the media coalition, the interveners, are trying to convince Judge. So now, what is the state of Idaho have to say? Well, they remind everyone that they were parties in the Supreme Court action where the media coalition first went to the Supreme Court and they tried to get Judge Marshall's non-dissemination order set aside up there. And as we know from previous episodes, the Idaho Supreme Court found that the media should have gone to Judge Marshall first, should have taken their battle in Latah County rather than going immediately to the Idaho Supreme Court, because the famous quote that they gave us in that case is, "We as the Supreme Court, we're the court of last resort. You come here after you have exhausted all of your other remedies, not first. You don't come here first." So after that happened and the case was closed out, we then saw the media come down into Latah County and file their motion to intervene and motion to set aside the gag order. So the state is reminding the judge about that prior case and is also incorporating, they filed papers in Idaho Supreme Court opposing the relief that the media coalition was looking for. So they're saying, Judge, our response in the Idaho Supreme Court case against the interveners here, the media coalition, we want to incorporate by reference herein. So all of the arguments we made up there, they're basically saying we're making here with all case law that they were citing. And they also provide a little bit more case law, and then they get to the meat and potatoes. They feel that this non-dissemination order is appropriate, that it should not be set aside. They say it's not vague. That's one of the arguments that the media coalition makes. And whenever there's some sort of a gag order for some reason, it's got to be specific so that people know what's expected of them and then they don't go out and inadvertently violate that order. So here, the state is arguing, Judge, that issue is not a problem here. This is specific. It's not vague. People know what's required of them. And then they're also saying this is not overly broad. This is not a situation where this gag order goes too far and says you can't raise the name Bryan Kohberger, for example. That would be an example of a ridiculous, extraordinarily overbroad gag order. They're saying that this is narrowly tailored. That's the language of art that's used in First Amendment cases. And they say, look, we know we have a balance between the First Amendment freedom of speech, Sixth Amendment, Mr. Kohberger's right for a fair trial, and they feel that this gag order should be allowed to continue because they feel it is the correct balance between those two constitutional rights, freedom of the press, freedom of speech, and then Mr. Kohberger's right under the Sixth Amendment to a fair trial. This is Kathy. Thank you for joining us here at the Indie Zone. I hope that you will join us again.